Okay, it's exactly 9 o'clock. This is a special meeting that I call to make sure that we have a chance to go through the agreement that we have for fire service for our community. So it's June 30th, 2022 at exactly 9 a.m. I do have all councilmen in attendance, and we do have a quorum, so we can conduct business. If I could just get a motion to approve the agenda.
That's so moved.
I'll second.
Then moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Hearing none opposed, motion carries. So I'd like to move on to the agenda. There is one agenda item, and that is the fire protection agreement. And I'd like to say a couple of things first before I turn this over to Councilman Ellis. Not everyone knows, but I will tell you I'm very passionate about the fire service. My husband was a 30-year professional firefighter, retired. My son is a firefighter, and it's something that's near and dear to my heart. I know what it's like to get phone calls in the middle of the night and then tell you that your husband's in the hospital because he fell through a roof or many things. And so, and that kind of passion kind of shows when I talk about this contract. I think it's extremely important. State statute tells us that we have to provide, still cities and towns, they have to provide fire protection for their citizens. And our job as a town is health, safety, and welfare of our citizens. And so, because of that, and because of how I feel about this thing, I'm actually going to have Councilman Ellis go through the new fire agreement that we received, and just to kind of give people a heads up. On June 15th, we had an agreement that was with Mid Valley Fire, Thane, and Star Valley Ranch. Thane passed the agreement in actually 5 minutes is what they told me, and we did not. So because of that, Thane asked for a separate agreement that did not include the town of Star Valley Ranch, and so we now have a new agreement that is just between the town of Star Valley Ranch and Mid Valley Fire. So I wanted to make sure that everyone kind of understood where we were at with this. Thane has now moved forward. They have assigned all of their equipment, everything to Mid Valley Fire District, and that their contract goes into effect July 10th. We did receive a letter from, we did have a contract with Thane. We received a letter saying that that contract was no longer would be honored, and they did give us 90 days to basically find some fire protection for our community. Mid Valley Fire District was kind enough to say that they would honor that contract, so they're honoring that contract for 90 days until the town of Star Valley Ranch can approve a contract. And with that said, I think that kind of explains it to everyone, kind of what's going on, so you understand where we're at right now. I would ask that as the town council debates this contract, that we hold all questions until they're finished, and then I'll take questions. I do also believe that if there are questions that come up, that Chief Merritt, who is here, and also President Skinner, who is the president of the Mid Valley Fire Board, those two would be, I'm fine if you want to bring them into the conversation, and that would be totally up to you. So I would like to turn this over to Councilman Ellis, and he's going to walk the town council through the new fire agreement. There are copies of it out there if you know, you're more than welcome to pick those up. And let's kind of figure out what we don't like, what we do like, however you want to do it.
Can I ask a question before we get going? I just, as far as I know, there's only one agreement in force, and that's the one with the town of Thane and Rural Fire District. And I would like to ask you, have any other agreements been made, written or verbal, by yourself or whatever? And I mean, the number of iterations of the contract that have been made, appears like there's been quite a bit of negotiation going on.
Prior or now?
Prior to the one that we have.
Okay, so I can kind of answer that. I I'm not sure what you want, but I will try to answer, I think. Let's see. So we received a contract that we did not pass on the 15th. And that contract had a couple of things that the council had asked for. One is that they not have to go to the straight 3 mills in this fiscal year, the 22-23 fiscal year. That would have saved the town $100,000. There was also another thing that the council asked for that was in that contract, and that was some help with the maintenance on the building. In the latest contract that we have, but since that, we didn't pass that contract is no good. It's gone. Now we have a new contract that is just between the town and the Mid-Valley Fire District. And that's what we need to seriously look at and decide what we want to do. So I think that this went out to all of you. You had it over a week, but you had plenty of time to read it. Does that answer your question, Councilman?
So there's been no other verbal agreements or anything?
Nope, nothing. Nothing.
Could I ask a point of order, please?
Sure.
You said that you wanted to discuss the entire contract before we have input from the audience, or can you do it by paragraph?
I think we're doing it by paragraph. I would rather wait until the end.
To the very end?
Yes. So the council can get through this. We've not done this, and we need to be able to. Okay. Councilman Owen?
Okay. I'd like to start off by going back real briefly to the 2021 agreement. This is one that is up there. That was between 3 entities, Thane, Star Valley Ranch, and Mid-Valley Fire Department. And if you look at it down where the payment, Star Valley payment to Thane is concerned, it's $53,587 per year. This is a 2-year contract. So this is still in effect from July 1, 2021 until June 30th, 2023. And I'd like to move you to G. Right there. Notice the top line on G. The parties agree that should any dispute arise between them regarding this agreement, or the actions taken or not taken pursuant to this agreement, the parties will attempt to resolve that dispute by negotiation prior to starting any litigation. Having said that, I'd now like to go to the town of Thane's cancellation of the contract, which says the termination of the contract is effective 90 days from the date of this letter. If my counting is correct, that makes it September the 18th, 2022. Given that, Thane has assigned all equipment and facilities of the Thane and Rural Fire Department to Mid-Valley Fire District. And finally, the bottom paragraph, it is my understanding that the board of the Mid-Valley Fire Department has approved the resolution authorizing the district to provide fire protection and emergency response services to the town of Star Valley Ranch with a 90-day termination period. So we in effect have fire protection through September 18th, if my counting is correct. I do have, at that point, I would like to move to the contract as we have talked about. The current one that we are looking at. And I want to note that there are 5 different changes between the 2022 contract and the 2021 contract we probably need to talk about. The first one is the 2022 contract is between 2 parties only, Mid-Valley and the town of Star Valley Ranch. Thane is no longer involved in this. Now, my question would go to the president of the board. If Thane is no longer involved, and Thane has turned over all of the equipment to Mid-Valley, why are references to the Thane and Rural Fire Department in that contract?
The Thane Rural Fire Department has been the Thane Rural Fire Department for 70 years. I guess specifically the name of the fire department has not changed. They're being governed by Mid-Valley Fire District, but the fire department is still the Thane Rural Fire Department.
But if I understand the contract right, Thane has turned everything over to Mid-Valley, so that would indicate that the Thane Rural Fire Department would cease to exist. Is that correct, or am I missing something here?
To me, like the Thane Rural Fire Department has, like I say again, been there for 70 years, and the Mid-Valley Fire District is not out to micromanage the fire department. They're there to try to make it the best fire department we can possibly make. And so, I really don't care what they call themselves.
Okay.
I can answer that.
Okay.
We have roots deep in that fire department. Lance's dad established it. My dad was on it. We've got 4 other firemen that had dads on it. We have 1 fireman, him, his dad, and his grandpa were on it. The fire department voted to keep that name because of the deep roots, and we will keep that name.
Okay. I was just curious, since it appears some documentation says it ceases. All right.
The department itself is gone. The name is staying.
Okay.
Can I suggest that since the Mid-Valley is leasing this stuff from the fire department, that we could take reference to that out of this contract, since our contract was with you guys. Any contract there with them to lease their stuff is between you and them, and the contract with us would be just between you, some kind of mention you guys. And they could disappear out of here and without affecting this contract. I think anyway, but.
Or it could stay not affecting the contract either way. So, just be careful with that. All right, so the second item that's changed between the existing 2021 contract and the 2022 is the quarterly reports have been dropped. They were in the 2021 contract. They are no longer in the 2022 contract. I'm assuming that was a report from Thane to the Mid-Valley Fire Department.
I can correct that.
Okay.
It was a report that the town used to receive from the town of Thane. And we had not seen it for quite a while. And there was some concern about the fire district being able to produce that report. And so I know it was taken out. I don't know that it would be a problem, but that's something to consider.
Looking at the differences
Yeah.
between where we were. and
It
where
was
we-
the same with EMS. Now that EMS is owned by the hospital and not by the town, it's the same thing. We're not getting.
Okay. The third item that's changed between the two contracts is the payments. And it's gone from the 35,000, to 3 mils. When the Mid-Valley Fire Department was created, at that point, we knew it was gonna be a 3 mil, cost. That was going to come out of the town's budget. We just did not expect it to happen for another year. That was under the other contract. But that was a known fact that it was going to be there at some point. The big item that's different is the lease of the real property across the street by Mid-Valley. Now, discussions have been had between this board of council, excuse me.
Can we talk about the payments before we go on to the next one?
Okay?
Or do you want to have you finish and then,
Yeah, or what?
you're doing a review, so we can double take it.
Let me get through the last two.
Well,
The property across the street, there's no way the Mid-Valley Fire Department would have known that there have been discussions about, tearing that building down, since they were not involved. However, no decision has been made on that building. And the last major difference is the term of agreement, which is now gone to 10 years. Given that is the only changes between the 2021 and the 2022 contract, tell me, what's the concerns?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say something that.
Sure, go ahead.
We understand that the 3 mills, but what is the 3 mills levied against? Our newest budget is projecting $276,000 worth of revenue from property taxes, which is the 8 mills. So 3 mills times that budgeted number only comes up to about $100,000. And rather than going to an assessed value that we don't receive except in arrears, it seems to me like we're being levied in upfront before we ever receive the money. And so I would suggest that our 3 mills be levied against the monies that the county gives to the town for the property taxes, or 8 mills that they return back to the town.
I believe the contract calls for that to be determined by the county on July. What does the county, which number does the county use in July?
Talk to Kristen, she does not get our assessed value, 8 mills of our assessed value.
Right. But
During the year, it's significantly less than that.
well, what does the county end up saying it's going to be, or we won't know that until sometime in July, correct?
The county doesn't.
County doesn't ever send them.
County never said that.
Then how are we supposed, the contract says we're supposed to find that out. How do we do that?
Call the county.
But that's why I say we should maybe give if we go along, if we do the 3 mill levy, it should be against the monies that the county gives to the town on a, a monthly basis, quarterly basis, or what? When do we get the
Sorry, give
property?
me just a second and I'll find it. That's not mine.
Monthly, so that could be 3/8 of whatever that is, could be then transferred to the fire department as part of our agreement, if that's what we decide to do. It should only be based on 3 mills of what we receive.
It's 3 mills of your assessed value, it's how the county set it up, it's gonna be off your assessed value, not what you received. That's how it's set up. Every fire district in the state set up that way, that's how it's gonna be.
Well, I submit we should change that.
Okay, clarification, that would be state law?
I don't know if it's a state law or how, I can't answer that part, but when we were forming the fire district, we found that out, it was off of the assessed value.
I agree, but our budget for the year starting tomorrow is based on 2022 assessed value, and we received information that our 8 mills times our assessed value is $276,000. That's what our budget is based on. If we were to pay you based on next year's assessed values, whatever, it'd be 5 mills, it'd be 5/8 of our receipt, which, so you're trying to charge us on next year's values as opposed to what you're getting this year, so. I mean, this is the detail that can be worked out. understanding what value we're gonna use needs to be clarified.
Well, it comes out to 57% of our,
Yeah.
what we're gonna receive from the county. And another thing is, our budget goes into tomorrow, and we budgeted 53,000, and we cannot spend more money than we budgeted.
What I think, you had just a basic question. We've been receiving a service from Thane Rural Fire Department for services rendered of $53,000 or $50,000 a year. What's the difference between 2021 and 22, 23? Are we gonna receive, more, services? I'm a little concerned as a citizen because the law, state law says that we cannot, subsidize, individuals or entities within the state unless they're poor. They may think you're poor, you don't fall in that category. So what I'm saying is, why is the significant increase just because the law says we can have 3% or 3 mil? That reflects primarily if you're part of a fire district. We're not part of this fire district. We are a customer, potential customer of this fire district. Therefore, we should pay something that's equitable, both for them and us. And I'm just concerned that you go from one year to another, you change the name, and the money doubles or triples, depending on whose number you use.
Other comments on, payments?
Well, I've got a general comment. One is, Mid-Valley is trying to stand up a new station, new equipment, blah, 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 so they're trying to get growing. We are a poor town, we've got bad roads, so we got, both entities are competing for the same money. I mean, if we go with 3 mills, our road reserve income drops by 1/3, so the impact to people in Tri Valley Ranch is that the roads will not get improved if we're helping stand up a new station equivalent down there, so people need to understand that that's what's happening. Both entities are competing for money. If we go with 3 mills, we're not providing our roads, so somehow we got to understand the impact on the town for any contract we have with Mid-Valley. I'm not asking for agreement, but that's my impression of what would happen to us, is that any excess we have, look at our budget, our excess this year next year is going to be $150,000 over expenses, we expect. If we give them another $100,000, then we drop to $50,000, so there's no improvements to our roads in half or 10 years, whatever.
I would like to clarify that. This year we had a excess of $500,000.
I'm talking about budget next year.
Right. But what I'm saying is, I don't know that you could really say we're not gonna fix roads if we have a fire.
I'm talking about what's budgeted next year. Our budgeted excess next year, which is to go into the reserves,
Right.
is $150,000, something like that. If we give them $100,000, our budgeted income to the road reserve would be $150,000, which means there'd be no road improvements if we go ahead with this. Now, it turns out this year, because of, I don't know, mineral royalties or sales tax, whatever, we're gonna have an excess of $500,000 or something like that. That's
Because we budget very-
result of income greater than expenses.
But we made some decisions on not to do so, because we don't know the right direction to go at.
And we usually don't transfer that money into reserves until 6 months from now, when the auditors will be.
So I guess what I would like to know is, what does the council want? I mean, I hear a lot of things,
Well,
but fixing roads is not what we're talking about. We're talking about this
I
contract.
agree, but I just understand that proceeding with this affects our roads.
Yes.
It affects the whole budget.
It affects
Right,
the whole.
it does affect
budget,
the
everything.
budget this year.
This,
Question I have, should this contract then be based on mills and not absolute dollar value?
It should be.
It
I
should.
mean, okay. That's, I mean, I don't know why we put dollar.
And my suggestion was that we take 3/8 of the county disbursements, which is supposedly the amount that we get from our 8 mills of property taxes, and that, would become the payment to Mid-Valley. And that's the way we should state it, rather than all of the first three paragraphs of the contract. For each fiscal year, the total payment shall not exceed 3 mills annually. Periodic payments will be based on the 3 mills or 3/8 of Star Valley Ranch's 8 mil of county disbursements of Star Valley Ranch property tax receipts. Payments will be due 7 days following the monthly schedule of town council meeting. That's something that Mid-Valley could live with.
you had a comment. So-
Well, kind of an answer to the question of, will you receive better services? And I would say yes, you will receive better services. The better equipment, the better stuff we have, the better services you receive. Including, we have a truck ordered right now that by the time it is, equipped, it's going to be somewhere over $400,000 worth of equipment that is projected to be parked right next door here. That'll be by far the best piece of equipment that we have, and it's supposed to be parked right here. So are you gonna receive better services? Absolutely.
When you say projected, does that mean, assuming this contract that's on, it will be parked there?
Well, let me put it this way. And Mid-Valley, like I said before, we're not trying to micromanage the fire department. Mid-Valley didn't say it's gonna be parked up there. The fire department voted on it and said it's gonna be parked up there. Okay, now, projected after that, we got a tanker truck that needs to be taken in, and, it's a steel tank, and needs to have a poly tank put on it. Will that truck come down for the time that that's being taken care of? I don't know, that'll be the fire department's choice. I'm not gonna say it's always gonna be parked there, but I think for the most part, yeah, it'll be parked there.
Thanks.
Kristen?
Well, I was wondering if the men that are supposed to like run it, is that gonna be also there, or are they, they're like 20 minutes away?
You have, living in the town of Star Valley Ranch, what?
4 days.
4 guys on our fire department that live there. Now, mind you, and I had heard from, and I wasn't here, but I'd heard from one of the previous, meetings that maybe he was concerned about not having representation. You do have representation, because like I say, Mid-Valley does not micromanage the fire department. They vote on decisions, and you've got 4 members that live right here in Star Valley Ranch that votes on that, so you'll have representation right there.
President, can I ask you a quick question? Would Mid-Valley Fire consider making this a fire station, like a fire station number 2? And I say that because, that would certainly benefit our residents as far as their homeowners insurance
Well,
goes.
first of all, we need fire department 1, you know? I'm sorry to say that, but Mid-Valley doesn't own the fire department. So we need fire department 1 before we can go 2. Down the road, I don't know what the state would consider a fire department, but in essence, will we be able to afford 2 full-fledged fire departments? No, I don't think so. I don't think the money's ever going to be there. Could we possibly have satellite stations like what we've got here? I would like to see that a permanent situation myself, so that there's always something up in this area.
Is our, first responsibility, is it set up to handle that new rate that you guys have? Okay.
And mind you too, when saying that, this new truck is actually a pumper tanker. It can fight fire by NFPA standards, state statute, federal statute. This one truck can do a fire, a full-fledged house fire by itself. But there will be another engine, the one that is already there parked, so you will actually have two engines here to respond to a house. This new truck will pack 2,000 gallons with a 1,500 gallon per minute pump. It'll have air packs on it. These four guys up here will run them two trucks. That, and I'm not saying they're the only ones. Anybody on the fire department can do it, but that will be their initial truck to go to.
Other comments on it? Let's move on to the, use of the building over there. Hold on just a second. Let me finish. The contract calls for Mid-Valley Fire Department to pay $15,000 for upgrading the building, and then they may or may not put insulation in it, and they will be responsible for all maintenance of the real property and building during the term of this agreement. That agreement runs for 10 years. Some comments?
At $1 a year.
Yeah, $1 a year, and $15,000 turns out to be a lease payment of $150 a year over the 10-year period.
Yeah, the first question is utilities, who's gonna pay utilities on that building? It's not the answer right now, but that's a pretty healthy cost. Water and all that kind of stuff. So,
But all of that needs to be in the lease agreement.
I agree, I'm just bringing up that, understanding who's gonna pay utilities, needs to be covered there as well. The second comment I had was, I'm on the economic development board as well, and we have citizens wanting, recreational services, all that kind of stuff, so that land is highly coveted by several organizations within the town. Location of that building is not conducive to any development, so, there's been a lot of talk about moving it, whatever, so any lease agreement that, gives you 10 years use on that, and you also have real estate, so that is on a 3-acre lot. And so if you're leasing the entire 3 acres, I'm not sure that's acceptable either. So there's some terminology that can be changed in here to, such that the town still doesn't lease it to you, but allows you to use it or something like that, whatever, as opposed to having a lease agreement actually specify that it's yours for 10 years.
The reason we talk about the 10 years, was just like you, we don't want to put $15,000 into a building that you're gonna tear down next year.
Right.
That would be kind of stupid on our behalf. So that's one of the reasons the 10 years was threw in there, is because, yeah, we're gonna put $15,000 into a building, we want to have some use of it for enough time to make it worthwhile.
My suggestion would be that we remove this paragraph from this agreement and have a separate contract for what we're gonna do, with the building, with the no-cause cancellation contract for 180 days or whatever. And should we want to, reposition the building or build a new building, but I think we should deal with this separately rather than the fire services agreement. And so I would propose we, pull this out of this agreement and then, create another agreement that says we will provide this. And I would suggest that the lease payment would cover, and have the ranch do the whatever necessary upgrades are needed for that building right away. And that would be part of the lease payment, would be to cover those, help cover those costs. So that would be what I think we should do.
Well, I've got a question, and I was gonna ask, why couldn't it be pulled out also, and two separate agreements?
but Ron brought up the land. We got a well over there and we got a generator over there. And that needs to be clear.
I want a generator on some of them,
I don't know, if you look at the zoning or the plat maps, that's just one piece that, we've got a well sitting over there.
I
We don't
think-
want anybody.
I think you're right, it needs to be stated more clearly in each text. How does the council feel about a separate agreement? Sorry,
I would like to
Mr.
see
White.
a separate agreement, and it's real clear on the land. Because like I said, it's one of our main wells.
Would it be acceptable to the council to clear up the language as to the building only and shorten the lease time period?
I don't want to show them. I just want the audience, everyone to understand that building, we've talked so many times about that building, because it's really
I
not.
forget what to do with it.
But the reality is, we had a structural engineer look at the building, our building inspector went through the building, and structurally, that building is sound. Structurally, it's very sound. The town council put, I believe it was about $12,000 set aside in this year's budget to fix the outside. The problem with the building right now is that the lean-tos were not put on properly, and they're pulling the building down. So we're taking the lean-tos off, fixing the roof, fixing the siding, and we had already decided to do that. When we were negotiating this contract, I mentioned the fact that we had budgeted that much money plus utilities, which was about $15,000 in this budget, and that's where that $15,000 number came from. So does that kind of help? So there's really nothing wrong with the building other than it's really never been maintained or hasn't been maintained for a long time.
Boyd, you had a comment?
Just a couple of quick comments. If the building is part of the lease, and there's a $1 for it, I'm not sure that reflects the value of the building. Zane is getting $1 for 3 years for their equipment. They're getting money in trading for services. If Star Valley Ranch gives them that building or use or however you want to do it, if we're not charging for it, we're giving it to them, and therefore we're giving them a financial benefit, which passes if you go 3 mills this year, passes your 3 mill limit. So you're kind of treading on thin water from a financial standpoint. If you take this thing out of this lease, and it's an asset of the town, and the town invests in its own asset, i.e. do all the work, pay for it. Put your lease in place for leasing the building to them, monthly, annually, whatever. That reflects the value of that building, a fair market value, and that's negotiable. I'm not saying we charge it $10,000, but I'm saying we cover our money that we invest in it if it lasts 10 years. But you're talking about 4 different mayoral periods of time. Yours now, next one, and the next one. In that time, the state of Wyoming may become flush again. It may have a ton of money for towns to build infrastructure. And we ought to be in a position where the town can cancel that lease and put in there enough time for you guys to find another place or for us to build another place, whatever we decide to do. But the town needs that flexibility. 10 years is a long time in political arenas as far as available funds, grants, all those kind of things, as well as administrations, because each administration will have a different objective or an idea how they do it. Enough said.
Ken, other comments?
Jim?
I think we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves. I'd like to understand a little more about this 3 mill levy and what makes it sacred. I just got my property tax assessments, that went up about, I think, 20%. Okay,
You're lucky.
Well,
You're lucky.
I don't know. Okay. So what that means is if you retain that 3 mill, let's say it's 25%. If you retain that 3 mill assessment, okay, the money that comes in went up 25%. That's a huge windfall. I'm wondering if we're not doing this backwards. Number one, who says 3 mills is sacred? All right,
So I can answer something.
okay,
So 3 mills is how much the county residents, the county people pay for the fire district. So let me finish. The fire district voted to have basically equality. We pay 3 mills, they pay 3 mills. And that's kind of how the 3 mills came out. That's the maximum that they can charge.
okay.
And it comes out of, it doesn't raise your taxes, comes out of the town's money that the town already gives.
No, it does raise your taxes.
No, it doesn't raise your taxes. You're not in the county.
The assessed value went up, and the 3 mills is based on the assessed value. That translates to a windfall, big time.
It's because your property values went up.
Exactly, okay.
Yeah.
And that's my point.
Yeah.
You're saying, oh, well, we got all this money now, we can spend it, rather than doing it the other way and saying, what are the financial obligations we need to meet, and figure that out, and you adjust the mill levy to that, not turn around and say, boom, I just got 25% more money, how am I gonna spend it? Wrong way to go about
I got a couple comments. First of all, we're not in the district. At least for 2 more years, whatever. So to assume that fair is, I think it's presuming too much. I agree with Boyd that we should pay for services rendered as opposed to, pumping in 3 mills, whatever, to support building a new facility, whatever. I mean, you're trying to raise money for your new building down there. I can see what you're doing, but, I'm not sure that the contract.
Before the new building, we need to get adequate equipment.
I agree.
I think the one truck that's parked up there right now is what, 1978?
Right.
82.
Well, I agree, but it's okay. If I look at your budget, and I'm not sure what it is, the budget that this, was given to us last month says that your operating expenses are gonna be $150,000 for next year. That's what this says.
Well, and that's based on the fact that we didn't have anything.
Okay, but let me, okay.
Yeah.
I'll also just take this train of thought. Your budget is $150,000. He says half of your costs go to highways.
CarX.
CarX, and then if we take property values as okay, Thane gets a fourth, and the rest of the valley gets a third. That means we're getting a third of your calls. So, of your operating expenses, what's being spent by the services would be $30,000 or something like that. So,
Do you drive on that highway?
I do once in a while, yes.
You do all the time. You get in a car wreck on there, you want us to cut our services by a third?
I'm not saying.
It's a community thing, it's a community highway.
Well, I'm going back to, okay, financial responsibilities for the town. Does the town, is it supposed to support car wreck on the highway? I mean, that's just a philosophy that we gotta agree with. Okay, are we gonna support that service?
Emergency services have to be provided to all areas.
Okay.
But let me come back and make 2 more points on what you're alluding to. At the last board meeting, I came away with the understanding that the town of Star Valley Ranch is never going to be part of the Mid-Valley Fire District unless Senator Dockstader gets, state legislation changed. I believe that's what you indicated.
Nope, I didn't. I said unless you want to get representation to go into the county. I said the fire department, the guys on the department do not have the time. The time we give up for volunteering already is mind-blowing.
Okay. The second point, the budget that was presented to this town council last time said it was a $200,000 budget. If the town of Star Valley Branch puts in $157,000, that's 44% of your new budget that the town contributes. No, it's 44. I think it's bad.
If it's.
You're the highest assessed town in this county.
Well, I understand that.
That's not our fault.
But the point I'm trying to make is, we would be contributing 44% of your total budget and not have any representation other than to the fire department, but not to the Mid-Valley. Now, I don't know what the contract or what the, ordinance says that created Mid-Valley, but it seems like somebody that's putting in 44% ought to be able to be on the board of it. So I don't know whether that's even possible.
It's not possible because you have to be living within the district to be on the board. That's, I think, state law.
Yeah.
And let me make it real clear here, I guess. I don't want to be on this board. I have no desire to be on this board. I told Kevin just the other day, I have no political aspirations whatsoever. I don't care what you guys in this room think of me. And so I'm going to put this real blunt, okay? We are asking a 3 mil levy for everybody in the county. If you want our fire protection services, you're going to have to pay 3 mil, okay? You have 2 or 3 choices there at this point. You can see if Afton wants to provide your fire protection and watch your homeowner's insurances skyrocket. Same thing with Alpine. Or you can create your own fire department, or you sign with us. It's that simple, okay? And you're making it too complicated. It's just that simple. Create your own fire department. That's my 2 options that I see that you got, because I don't see the really value of either one of the others. And so you have to create your own fire department or sign with us.
Why did you ask, state to contribute 3 mils?
With that,
Why did you ask state to contribute 3 mils? That'd be $25,000 they'd be giving you.
Yeah.
it would be how many?
25,000.
And I don't know what it is on this projected new one, but it's been 15,000 is what it would have been.
Is that what it is?
We better get our figures somewhat
It's tough too.
But we have got, okay, we asked them for that, then they're gonna go ahead and charge more than that for the equipment and the fire hall that we got. So we feel at this point that the town of Thane is giving us quite a bit.
So you're declaring that the value of that building and the equipment is $25,000 a year.
For how long?
For 3 years.
It's for 3 years.
I'm just, trying to figure out, equitable there, or whatever you're thinking. So.
Well,
You guys
want
money.
a separate contract.
Yeah.
You've got a separate contract, so I guess technically it
It's not
doesn't really make any difference what our contract with Thane is.
It's not great, it's not a business, but.
We're contracted for service. That's what we're doing.
So does the fire department, receive compensation in any form, for response to a wreck on the island?
Nope. We get nothing, absolutely not a damn dime.
Because, but, and you
You want
respond,
me to tell you exactly how much time I spend as the chief? I've lost over $26,000 this year for all of the stupid meetings I have to go to all of the stupid fire investigations, to all of the homeowners wondering why the fire hydrant next to my house has a rock in front of it. That stupid kind of shit. That's the stuff we are giving up for fire coverage for you guys.
Not to mention risking our lives, because number one, Store Valley Ranch is probably the most dangerous, worst place in our area to fight fire. And that's the simple facts. I mean, about 15 years ago, give or take, I don't know, long time ago, we got some videos, on triage and places, subdivisions just like this that are built in the forest land. After we watched those videos, we came up here and we went through a lot of that road. We drove all over and we're going, well, write this house off, write this house off, write this house off. I'm telling you, we can make a better fire department if we all financially work together. But if you want your own fire department, go for it. It ticks me to death because I wouldn't have to fight fire up here.
Well, I think the reality is that $150,000 that we're asked to pay a year, you can't even equip 4 guys. I mean, it's just, people have no conception of what this costs. First of all. Second of all, I wanted to reply to the comments about, they call that paper call. We pay for the sheriff's department. We do not pay any more than anyone else, because that's kind of how it works. It's a public safety program, and I find it, for me personally, it's very frustrating that we're not willing to support this fire department. I find it appalling, I'll be honest.
I think we are setting that fair bill. Christie, and like Lee said, don't base it on what we receive, not what we might receive. Base it on real numbers.
Well, and I think it addresses that in the contract, but it maybe makes more sense to take that out and just put the 3 mils in there. Because the county.
On funds received from the county. Right?
Yeah.
Is that what you?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The other question, you said you'd get 0 for any response to a wreck. Are you responding at the request of the EMT services, or what? What causes
It's
you
just
to?
something you do.
Yeah,
It's just a fire department you do.
What causes you to respond?
All right, I've had enough. I'm gonna say this one time, you guys are nitpicking a damn volunteer service. We give our life to protect you guys, whether it be on a damn car wreck, a house fire, a brush fire, or a wildland fire. If a wildland fire happens here, I'm sorry, you are SOL. What Lance was saying about this being the most dangerous town in the valley is true.
And then I'm gonna back that up by saying, I know the guys that I work with in the fire department. And I know we bust our butt up here, even though it'd be stupid, and I know we work our butts off and endanger our lives because of, that's who we are. Now, if you wanna nitpick over this crap, I'm leaving. I've had enough of this. I'm out here, you can do whatever the hell you want, but at this point, I tell you, you've got, in my mind, 2 options. Sign a contract with us or create your own damn fire department.
Okay.
And I really don't give a damn which.
Kristen, you had a question. Kristen is running for council, by the way.
Okay, can I make a comment?
Our town needs you here, so we need you to stay.
Can I make a comment relating to what Lee said? Having been an EMT and responding to issues, when the call comes in, you don't know what you're walking into. That car could be on fire, that car could be smashed down, it's gonna require the equipment that only the fire department has. So they have to respond. And you never know what's coming up.
But there's a reason for asking these questions.
Kirsten, hold on. Kirsten, you had a comment.
Well, I was just wondering, so if we have an injury, because I know, like you guys do in the other medical calls, if we have that sort of thing in the range, will you guys still be on hand, or probably not for that?
On just a strict, like a heart attack, is that what you're saying, for like a medical?
Yeah.
No.
So, I won't say no, but now that the hospitals took over, their service is tenfold what you. We haven't had to help them, but yes, we will help them if they call us.
And we get called out on any rescue type situation.
But
The other thing, and you can ask Kathy this, when that trench collapsed a few years ago, and I'm not gonna say how, but from the time we were paged to the time I was on the scene, was 1 minute and 28 seconds.
That's right.
As
And
a
they pulled it out.
volunteer, and you guys are sitting here nitpicking this.
No, wait a minute, we're not nitpicking, but
The hell you ain't!
no, it's a discussion.
How are you not
It's a
nitpicking?
discussion.
You sat here and done this in your town council meeting to us, and now you're doing it again.
We've been discussing it for about 3 months in the council meeting, you came with the budget that we couldn't afford. To proceed with this, we're gonna have to modify our budget.
You're correct.
It's gonna take 90 days to modify the budget.
You're
We had to
talking,
modify the budget on the well. I mean, that's not a big deal. That's not true.
It's not true.
It's not true.
Yeah, let me go back to that clause G in both contracts, including this one for 22 onward. The parties agree that should any dispute arise between them regarding this agreement, or the actions taken or not taken pursuant to this agreement, the parties will attempt to resolve the dispute by negotiation prior to initiating litigation. I don't want to go to litigation. I would much prefer to sit down and have a conversation. The question then becomes one of, what does the conversation entail? 3% or 3 mil levy was what was on the ballot when it was passed. We knew that was coming.
No, that's technically not right.
Okay, is that not right?
If I may correct you on that, that once the board was created, then the board voted, at that point, we can go anywhere from 0 to 3 mil.
Okay.
Okay, the board voted to go 3 mil. With the discussion very strongly there that if we can once get on top of things, that we will bring that 3 mil down.
Well, the reason I'm saying the 3 mils is because when we're going around trying to get signatures, everything I heard from everybody was it's gonna cost more, it's gonna cost 3 mils.
I'm not sure, I think. What you're talking about is when we were gonna form a fire district that included Thane and the town of Star Valley Range, was the 3 mils. And that's a valid statement. The statement is that we are not part of that, unfortunately. That's the biggest error we all made. But the fact of the matter is, the 3 mils they voted on are by statute, the 3 mils that they're charging at Lincoln County.
Right.
Not the town of Star Valley Range. What I'm trying to understand is, because we have 3 mils that are available, if we were a fire district, doesn't mean that we should pay 3 mils to this for the services rendered. We have no votes. We have, the spreading of the money, whoever pays for water or how. I do not want to make anything that you do or don't do part of the discussion, because we appreciate every second of your time. We really do. But by the same token, the town's got to look at this and say, why are we being, don't get mad at me, why are we being assessed more money for our services than Thane is? Why are we being assessed more money than the Lincoln County?
If it would have been created as one district,
We would have paid it.
it would still been a trade.
You could have,
We're not talking any difference.
but we would have had a vote on it. We'd have had a lot different involvement with the organization. And I'm sorry that I had to leave. I still don't understand the difference between Mid-Valley and Thane rural fire departments.
Thane is going away, correct?
What is the real name of the
It's
fire
the name
department?
on fire department.
it's just the name.
What is
The
the
Thane
real
Fire
name?
Department is gone.
Yeah,
Like it.
it's the fire
name.
department.
So Mid-Valley Fire Department doing business as Thane.
Other way around.
If you want to put it on that.
So the other way around, the legal entity has got to be the top. Who's the legal entity?
Mid-Valley.
Mid-Valley.
Legal entity is Mid-Valley Fire.
And doing business as Thane Fire.
Very long.
Kirsten?
Or, no, whatever you want.
I think like our area is dangerous with that technique. I'm wondering if we wouldn't be better off with our own fire department that, like, we can train.
Go for it.
No.
Staffing issue, you can't staff, not a little too.
Something here.
Oh,
It
yeah.
happens, especially if people are more available. Not that you guys haven't, and I'm not trying to say that, I'm just saying, like, as town, would it be safer for us, and maybe all the surrounding areas too, to have us contribute our own?
I'll tell you, I can answer that for you. We can't even staff a full fire department. Using the county, Star Valley Ranch, and the town of Thane, we have 24 guys. We can have 30, well, actually, as a district, we can have more than that. When we was under the town of Thane, I don't remember the statute, where we could have 30 full-time firemen and 5 cadets. Or excuse me, 10 cadets, so it'd been 40 total. We can only get 24 full-time firemen and I have 3 cadets. That's it. Not to mention, then, you guys are talking this $157,000, you're gonna talk millions and millions to get a fire.
I think, you think your taxes are high now, you wait until you try to get the whole fire.
We need fire department.
Right.
Okay, you've got literally thousands of years of experience with our fire department. Yes, I admit, I'm getting a little too old to fight fire. My brother's getting a little too old to fight fire, but just between the two of us, you got real close to 100 years of experience in firefighting. And when I used to be, no, but I still do it, for a short period of time. But what I'm saying is, you cannot buy the experience that we have.
So I bring up a lot of, nitpicking details of things, but I think everybody needs to understand, or I'm trying to represent, people in town are gonna be asking questions, I was paying so much money, but if we're being charged 3 mills, because that's essential for the Mid-Valley Fire Department to exist and provide the services that we need, then that needs to be clear, I guess. And that 150,000 is essential, whatever, as opposed to the service you're providing. If you provide 4 calls a year or 5 calls a year, then we put numbers on that. That's 25,000. I'm not sure. I don't know how you put numbers on calls.
Let's put some simple numbers on it. You can for one fireman, turnout gear and an air pack, we're probably talking 12,000, 13,000.
40,000. Air packs went up, bunker gear went up, everything, pagers, radios.
One person. Yeah. Okay, now, we're talking about, yes, we'd like to get a fire, the one that we got was too small and then we moved into it, okay? It's not adequate, it's probably, certain agencies check it out, we'd get in big trouble, okay? So, yeah, we'd like to get a new fire hydrant. Projected cost is about $3 million. Okay,
It's $4 million now,
and yeah, that was.
with the inflation.
That's $3 million about half a year ago, or a little over half a year ago, and now we're jumping up, so, we don't, the cost for fire service is tremendous. We have been, and believe me, we have been very, very frugal with our fire money and stuff like that. We've tried hard to save enough money to buy trucks, and we've tried to do that. That truck before that I mentioned that needed poly paint on it, we had several guys crawling around inside that truck a few years ago, welding, because it was leaking so stinking bad that it wouldn't hold water long enough to make it worthwhile to have. And it's the only really tanker truck we have, okay? So, and did they charge anybody anything for that? No. They've done that free gratis. I mean, I think people that are down there would get the broken down equipment. Do we run it to a mechanic shop? We can't afford to. No, we pretty much, we're pretty buried in a lot of interest that we have. We do a lot of the work ourselves. Yes, sometimes we just took the truck not very long ago down to Salt Lake to have a lot of work done on it, and that cost us what?
$28,000.
$28,000, okay? So it is super, super expensive, and that's why I say, you've got 2 real simple options. Sign the stinking contract, start your own fire department. I mean, that's where you're at.
Could I say something?
Yes, please.
There's a time factor here, you guys.
Yeah.
There is. We don't have time to form our own fire. In terms of threat of fire, We do have the money, we don't have the money to form our own fire department, but we do have the money to support this.
Yes.
Okay.
I
Now,
agree.
all the citizens understand that decrease of our payments there directly reduces road improvements.
Other citizens.
Hey,
I mean-
I'll take that over
Okay.
anything.
All right, so
Because
I'm
we're
not fair that the potholes on this are gonna stay.
We're looking at
That's not true.
town
That is not true.
and our area.
Don't make up stories.
Understanding,
This town is drying out. If you haven't noticed it.
I'm,
This year with our water levels and everything else, we are looking at a drier future here.
I'm not
We need
proposing that we-
a fire force, and these people know how to do it, have experience, have equipment, will do it. Our demographic does not look like a whole bunch of young firefighters here, frankly.
I think that one thing to keep in mind is we have spent millions to fix our water system and to add fire hydrants. We have over 200 fire hydrants right now. And it's frustrating to me that we've done all this work to make sure we have fire protection, and we don't want to spend a little bit of money to make sure we have a fire department that represents us up here. And I just,
We're not
it's
saying
not,
that.
I'm not saying
well,
that.
you are not willing to pay for it. That's the problem.
I'm not saying that either.
Okay, then
I'm
what do you
willing to
want?
pay the 3 million, I'm not even gonna quibble about that. It's against what amount, and we can't pay on monies that we don't have. And I'm not quibbling as to the service of Mid-Valley or Thane and Rural Fire Department at all. And if I can't ask a question without it sounding like nitpicking, I'm sorry. But I just like to understand a few things as we go along.
So Councilman, what do you want?
I'm saying that so far, we've gotten through a couple of these parts of the contract that we have questions about and perhaps issues with. Not trying to denigrate anything that you guys do, and I totally appreciate that, and we can't even think about creating our own fire department. I'm not going there at all.
Okay.
So I just want to understand what's in here.
I've got something I'd like to say. Paragraph, or section 2, the second paragraph, states that for 2020, 22, 23, we'll pay approximately $157,000 to Mid-Valley. And on our projected share from the state, what is that, $276,000. That comes out to 4.5 mils, or 56% of our budget. Like Lee said, let's pay on revenue received, not revenue we might get. But
I was gonna say, I don't think our taxes are gonna go down, no matter what. You know, even if your house depreciates in the next year or two, they're still gonna assess whatever they're gonna assess, which is current right now. And it may go up, it's never gonna go down. I've never seen that county say it's gonna go down. 2 years ago, here in Strike, I've been here 15 years, 2 years ago, the grass was about 4 feet tall, dry as a bone. We had a windy summer, and I said to my husband, just somebody flick a cigarette and here we go. Because it was everywhere, the dry grass. We don't, as a town, ask our property owners that own just a lot to please mow it, hire a mower or something, which is fire prevention. We don't do a lot of fire prevention here, and we are a special town up here. As far as I'm concerned, we need we need your protection, because we tried to get a different, homeowner's insurance, and you know what they told us? You don't have, we said, well, we've got a fire hydrant right over there, and they said, that's too bad, you don't have a fire department. And so, I don't know, you guys,
As far as I'm concerned, we need them, they don't need us. And the potholes in the road, that doesn't matter here. You know, how old is Star Valley Ranch? And everything was a gravel road when I moved here. We are slowly, you know, getting chip seal here, but we need a fire department. We need them. They need us less than we need them. And I think this is money well spent, because I even came to a, you know, coffee with the mayor when they had a discussion about a bridge that somebody wanted to have replaced so they could drive their golf cart over so they wouldn't have to go around. And that was like $400,000 for the bridge. Come on, you guys. This is nothing. What this is fire protection for all of us. And this is a unique town. There's a lot of different geography here. And there's a lot of people that just don't care if they mow their grass or if the grass is 4 feet high or the lot. We don't do that. We don't do any fire prevention here. And when I lived in a town, a big city, if it was taller than 12 inches, the fire department came and mowed that lawn and sent you the bill. So take care of your property and let's help these people.
I do think
They do a great job here.
I do agree with Sandy completely. Prevention.
Yeah.
This is about prevention.
Yeah.
And we keep talking about, golly, we don't have hurricanes. Why don't those people in New Orleans get into prevention instead of waiting for the next hurricane? Well, that's true. We're doing the same thing if we don't get on board.
Yeah.
We have no prevention.
I'm gonna say something I think I've heard from you guys, so based on prior discussions. The town of Star Valley Ranch and the fire department are geared to put out a house fire, period. If there's a wildfire up here, you do not have the facility, nor do we have the water to be able to provide you to fight wildfires up here.
It would be very, very difficult, you're right there, but we would be.
But you'd be here, no, I understand, but people think that if we pay this money, you're gonna save the 30 homes up on the north-south when the fire comes, it ain't gonna happen. You know that as well I do. You're gonna try to protect some down here from it coming down, so people understand we're not in the fire.
Well, yeah, but there's still structure fire.
Okay.
So that is what they do.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
structure.
Okay. Let me jump in here again for a minute. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you said we only have 2 options. Create our own fire department or sign a contract. Can I change that to say we still only have 2 options? One is to implement clause G and see if we can negotiate something different or sign the contract?
Well, there's certain things that definitely can be negotiated.
Okay.
At this point, the 3 mil, we voted on that. We lost the opportunity.
We did. I think people need to understand
To have
that.
that smaller amount for a year. You lost that opportunity when you did not sign before. So at this point, that 3 mil is non-negotiable.
Okay.
3
But other
million
parts of
on
the contract
projected revenue,
are-
not on money
Now,
received.
you know,
Town
I'm real
of Star
honest
Valley
with you.
Ranch.
Hold on.
The information we get from the county makes absolutely no sense to me. You get projected this and projected that, it all turns out different. Now, I'm speaking for myself, I'm not speaking for the board right at this point, but I don't think, and there again, like I say, the projected 3 mil is this, that, the other. And we can talk to the county and seem to get 10 different answers if you call them 10 different times. And there again, like I say, I'm speaking for myself, not the board, but I don't think you should have to pay more than 3 mil of what you get. That's my opinion. Okay, that's not the board's, that's not the board, that's just me.
Okay.
But as far as I'm concerned, that is, you can't pay, I mean, we can't, that would be asking, like you mentioned before, to pay 4 or 5 mil. You know, that's not right. That, what we want is fair between what we're asking from the county people to what we're asking from you. Okay, and if 3 mil, of what you receive, then that, to me, and like I say, I'm right at this minute, that's speaking for myself.
Understood.
Sounds like we're in agreement on it now. Sounds like we're in agreement forward.
I'd like to just be done with this and sign the Yeah.
contract. It's month by month, whatever, so.
Okay,
His,
hold on.
his proposal is to, once we get the check for the month,
Yeah.
we just take 3/8 of that, and forward on down.
Okay,
Yeah.
hold on.
Councilman Owens, go ahead.
We have two potential issues that have been agreed to. The council needs to decide at this point whether or not we want to implement G and talk about renegotiating some items, or whether or not we want to sign that contract. So somebody may want to put out some kind of a motion as to what you want to do, and then if we decide we want to do some negotiation, we've got to decide what pieces need to be negotiated.
Well, in the last meeting, we voted 3-2 to let her sign it once we reach an agreement.
Correct.
So this doesn't have to be agreed on today. There's changes, we can send back comments back to them and ask them to.
But that's the negotiation
Right.
piece, so we want to negotiate.
But he can't negotiate.
No, it's got to be with the
They
board.
have.
Got to let the board, when do you have another board meeting?
13.
Of July?
But I think,
And you have coverage till the tenth?
No,
18 September.
We have 90 days, yeah, yeah.
Unless,
They wanted this done by the 10th.
unless we call an emergency meeting, we only meet quarterly. So.
Okay, that's what I thought.
And you're down for another quarter, so.
Yeah.
Is there a willingness to negotiate?
Pardon?
Is there a willingness to negotiate with Mid-Valley and maybe change some of the words?
Well.
Or is it this contract or nothing?
No, I won't say that. What I said was, the 3 mills non-negotiable, okay?
Mhm.
That is non-negotiable. If you want to negotiate about this building over here, that I would say is negotiable, but just remember, okay? We're trying to increase our equipment, we're trying to do some things. If it costs us too much, we pulled it out a year ago, we can pull it out again. We don't have to have it here, it's especially good for you, it's nice for us. It's just nice for us, we don't have to have it here.
Right, but it's important to our citizens to have something here.
Could, just to follow up on what you just said though, if that's part of the deal, and I don't need to be specific, you know, you say you will have this engine in this location, but can you put something in writing that says that as a benefit to us as a town, you will have an engine, and let it be that descriptive up here at all times?
No, the reason being, if we have an engine to go down there, that's the most central location. If we have to pull this one to there, well, that one's getting worked on.
But I mean, you should put things in there except for maintenance and that, you know, put all that ifs, ands, and where. So there's something in the contract that says we're getting something that you're committing to. So far, we're committing a lot more, I think, in writing. We understand what you're gonna give us, and that's the trust part.
And I don't remember whether it was last year, year before, it all runs away from me, but you had a grass fire up here.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And this truck, basically, and I think there were some private citizens that was out fighting that fire too, but this truck was there, had the fire basically out, but we brought the trucks from.
Absolutely, that's the reason we put it.
yeah, the fire cell, they got there, you sprayed the smoldering embers with fire.
Well, down, yeah, we caught a house on fire.
Okay, hold on. Don, you have a comment?
Well, I don't have a problem with the 3 meals, and I don't think anybody else does. But it's how we pay the 3 meals, based on the money received, and you thought that was fair. But you can't speak for the board.
Yes, I'm not speaking for the board on that, but to me, and I wish I understood this stuff, but like I say, I get different, well, it's back when we was trying to create this board, or this district in the first place, you'd get a different answer from the county every time you turn around.
Yeah.
And I've seen the same thing with the amount of money. Now, and I will say this, okay, when we voted for the 3 mil that we got this last fiscal year, and they told us what that we kind of projected we was gonna get. We actually got more than what I thought was projected we was gonna get, so I don't understand. I respect it, but I
In
don't.
fairness to the county, their assessment is gonna change every time a house gets finished. So that's where something ends up moving. Kirsten, you had a comment?
I just think like David kind of doing and mentioning other people, that maybe the only thing that would kind of bring more understanding to the expense of this, which obviously we definitely need it, so it's like spending more money, I think, on something like this is worth it, but I think a lot of the community would feel more secure with spending that money if they felt like knowing what we're doing, and having the new truck and the new equipment to the firefighters is important, but also knowing that the calls are gonna be answered in a timely manner would be huge.
Our average response time, and now I'm not saying North Indian Ranch, they just take an average to Star Valley Ranch when they do it. Our average response time from the time we're paid to the time we're on scene is between 5 and 6 minutes. From thing, that's from us to go to our house, to thing, get a truck and come here. With the truck being here and 4 guys here, that's gonna be cut in half.
Yeah, I think she's just saying, we just let everybody know that.
No, and that's, I'm just letting you know our response time is what.
Even though there's the
You guys need to compare yourselves to the average.
Okay.
You're
So
way
let's get
ahead
back-
of the other part.
So-
That's a key thing for us.
What does the council want to do? I put 2 options on the table, they put 2 options on the table. What do we want to do?
I want to revise the verbiage in here, to take out the actual lease of the entire facility, maybe not, we can modify
Okay,
it. We can
wait
modify the-
a minute. Let's go back to what the issue is. Do we sign that contract, or do we invoke the renegotiation, or the ability to negotiate on this?
I don't think we need to vote that. I think we've got time to
Okay,
reword this.
the issue becomes one of, what do we need to vote on?
We've had 2 months. I mean, it's not like this just happened yesterday.
Okay, do we want to sign the contract as it exists, or do we want to try negotiating something?
We need to negotiate something. And some changes that we'd like to see, and then we see if you could agree with them.
Okay, so is that a motion from the board? I'm taking
The
over.
council.
Of the council.
Go ahead.
Go ahead and make a motion.
What is the motion?
I move that we reword this, as necessary to both agree.
Okay, so this is your area. You want to call for a second, or you want to leave it up to me?
I'll leave it up to you.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, it's been moved to second. Any comments?
Can I make one
Sure.
comment? As a fire district, you have got the 90 days, we honored that from the town.
Right.
Okay, so you have 90 days to figure this out. Now, as you're negotiating and talking about this kind of stuff, and I don't know how quickly you're going to get on it or anything like that. I know Kevin's also your lawyer. He's in Italy right now. I'm not sure when he's coming back.
Yes.
Okay, so, and he's gonna be behind the gun with his work, I guess is what I'm saying. He worked his butt off trying to get these contracts done in time for the 15th, I think what it was. He was down there one night until, I think it was about 9:30, trying to get that contract done, okay? What I'm saying is, and like I said, I told you before, some of this is negotiable as far as I'm concerned. The 3 mil's not, but just bear in mind, that we also had an emergency, so to speak, a meeting to try to sign these contracts after the 15th. I think ours was on the 16th, okay? I'm a little bit like Toby. I do a lot of volunteer stuff. I don't just volunteer for that. I've been a volunteer in the scouting program a lot during my life. I've been volunteer. I guess what I'm saying is, I'm not sure I'm volunteering to have another emergency meeting. So bear in mind, after the 13th, it's probably towards the end of your term of contract before we meet.
Right. Now, if I understood, was it the secretary that was here with you at the last meeting? She's got a drop dead date of whether the contracts are all signed of the 20th of July. Is that correct?
That's because she has, at the end of July, she has to submit to the
Right.
state for the budget. So,
So
yeah, so
it has
we
to
got
be
that.
turned in.
Yes.
So if we get our act together and get the negotiation done with on the 13th, we can have a contract by the 20th.
Maybe. Good to have a goal.
Depends on, on what gets negotiated. I got somebody sitting here saying, no way. But I think it's possible.
I guess I'm confused. What are you expecting to give them? Are you gonna rewrite a contract and then have them sign it or
No.
not? Or are you just gonna give them verbiage that you think?
I think what we've got to deal with is what's in the existing contract, or what minor changes and or changes need to be made in that contract.
Well, why can't we do that right now? Why do we have to wait?
All right?
Because they
We
can't
call a
agree to it.
special meeting to do this.
I was gonna say if they agree that.
So we can put something together, and then that could be given to you for the 13th. Is that what I'm hearing?
But this is the problem. If they don't approve it on the 13th,
Yep.
then we have no fire coverage because they meet every 3 months,
Okay.
correct?
They'll have 90 days,
Yeah, we have 90, which is September, so.
90 from whenever.
Yeah, September 28th.
They'll meet 91 or 92.
September 18th.
But the problem is we've talked about this numerous times, and I'm still not getting what everyone wants. Okay, if you want it done on actual 3 mils, then let's put that in there now.
Okay.
That's what I
What do you
proposed.
want?
3 meals of money
That's
received.
what I proposed.
Okay,
3 meals of money received.
So that would be
Payment
half.
after you get the money.
Actual 3 mils of monies received.
before you get the money.
I'll take
You
it.
can't pay it before you get the money.
Well, you can pay $100,000 out of the budget, out of the cash reserves, and then.
Okay, do you want to, sorry, I'll take this over now. So there was nothing else that you had a problem with other than the building, right?
Well, paragraph 1, what is the real name? It says Mid-Valley through the Thane Fire Department.
It's the name, the Thane Fire Department is gone.
It's gotta be.
It's the
Right,
name.
so there is some clerical stuff in here. I think that we need to change SVR to TSVR.
And on the very first
Not
paragraph,
very
they
far.
got the address of the, Mid-Valley Fire Department is Post Office Box 406, Star Valley Ranch, Wyoming.
And that should be.
That's your guys' fault for not getting.
Yeah, I know, right?
You've also got our mailing box number wrong.
Our mailing box number is wrong. Okay. All right, so if we can change the verbiage, and then the other issue you guys have is
Building.
the building. So what do you want?
I think it's the building and the land contract. The other two.
I think.
You want it to be
I
a
would like to
separate
see
contract?
a separate contract for the building.
Do you see a problem?
Separate lease agreement.
The one thing you guys were talking, and this is a suggestion, you're talking about the land, it's on a 3-acre lot.
Mhm.
You've got all of that to the north of it. We only need to be able to get into that building.
Right.
And room for snow.
Okay.
Oh, so, why not use the other portion for your recreation? Put it, some kind of a divider, whether it be concrete blocks, a berm, fence, whatever, something. And you can put recreation on the other half.
Oh, I agree, I just didn't want the verbiage in here giving you the, you know, the way it reads right now is you are leasing the entire 3 acres, which gives you the right to refuse anything to use on those acres, so.
Okay,
So it does say property.
Yeah,
I see what you're saying.
So if we got real
Specific
property,
to the building.
and just left the building on this drive,
And access or whatever, but,
I thought you wanted
But I
a
think-
separate lease agreement.
A separate lease agreement, and I think we ought to pay for the stuff, and they ought to pay a certain amount for this lease annually,
But
or quarterly, or whatever.
Instead of saying lease, which means legal, if we said, we will provide you the ability to use that building and land or fund it.
There are boilerplates coming out your ear on leasing ground. And I would suggest that not at a meeting where you're all together, somebody be assigned to pull up one of those deals, fill it out, and send it over to them.
It doesn't,
But we,
I think the dollar comes because that's pretty consistent with, like Alpine and what Thane was doing. If they're renting to another government entity, they charge them a minimal amount. And that's where all that comes from.
but we also have a verbal agreement on storage of some asphalt.
But if that's gonna be part of it, put it in the lease.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to,
You sign a lease with your friends. You have to litigate it when you're not friends.
Okay, so excuse me, can I get back to this? So we want to take the lease portion out. Any other issues other than some clerical stuff in here that you guys see?
well, the termination agreement, it's only 3 months to really, it should probably be 6 months at least if somebody wants to terminate it, it's gonna take quite a while to renegotiate where to put it or whatever. I think the termination agreement have it 180 days instead of 90. I don't know whether that's an issue.
That's still in the contracts we've already signed.
Yeah, they said it's exactly the same as the ones we've had for years.
I know, but,
I don't.
and then one other question, just a question, cost of capacity or beyond capacity services. Is it typical that if, say, a fire exploded in our town and it really got going and you had to engage a whole bunch of other fire services, is that typical that it's always on the onus of the town to pay for those extra services?
So exactly, the way it works, if it was strictly just a structure fire, we have a mutual aid agreement with
Okay.
Ashton and Alpine. They will come if we have them phased out. If it turns into a wildland fire, then feds take over, and we're out of the picture after, is it 8 hours or 12 hours? They just changed, I think it's 12, it's either 8 or 12 hours, the feds will take over. We're kicked out and they're in charge. As far as the money for that goes, that's federal. That's above our pay grade.
Okay, I just needed
And now,
information.
I mean,
that's all.
and the answer, or with Boyd's comment earlier, we are red card certified. We can wildland firefight and get paid on federal fires. Our trucks are certified. This new truck will be certified to do that. So we are not, our horizons are huge. We can do wildland structure, grass, rescue, everything. The only thing we can't do is water rescue.
And we have actually done wildland firefighting on Forest Service property until Forest Service got there.
Okay.
Just a point of order, we still have a motion on the table.
Reread the motion.
It was moved and seconded, it was never actually voted on.
Can you, what was that?
What was the
Move
motion?
to reword the contract, so we can make the motion to reword it and then actually work to reword it today, but motion.
So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I say that because I think the motion's too vague.
The one thing too to keep in mind, your 90 days, like you've said that you've spent 2 months at this point.
Yeah.
My personal opinion, I want it done before the 20th of July.
Right, but all I'm doing is just put this in the back of your mind, 90 days after that, you don't have fire coverage for contract.
I know.
Your homeowner's insurance will blow up.
Yeah, yeah.
So keep that in mind.
We'll have a wonderful rainy season. Yeah. So I'd like to revisit this stuff, because make sure that we're all clear. So we're asking for 3 mils of actual monies received,
And paid after receipt.
correct?
Correct.
Okay, the next issue, I think you've changed some of the terminology, the clerical stuff, that's not a problem. The next one is you want a separate contract for the building.
Mayor?
Yeah.
May I suggest that you leave a paragraph in there that references a separate lease, so that's in here. Because you may need that.
Now, my question, for, if we go back to the contract without the building, there seems to be some concern about doing a 10-year contract. I don't know why, but there is. And I don't know the exact language because I'm not an attorney, but his contract could say that it will be automatically renewed, which is how our old contract was.
Yeah, the only reason I had a problem with 10 years is because of plans for that building.
So you don't have a problem leaving it at 10 years for the fire district?
You know, if we change the verbiage on the lease for the building to, well, understand what we're gonna do with it, our ability to, us make decisions to replace it or something like that, I'm not sure what'll happen to it, or how we're gonna fix the problem. But each agreement will make it clear that we can work together to move it, or whatever we're gonna do, as long as we put the trucks and stuff.
Okay, so I think I have that. Now let's talk about the building. What's the issue with the building? What do you want to change on the building? We do it as a separate contract, which is what we have
I
now.
want the ability for us to proceed with, developing that lot. If we have to move it or whatever, I'd like to be able to,
Okay. The building needs work. We have that in our existing budget.
That's right.
Right.
So that would remove that $15,000 from there.
Correct.
We would end up doing it.
Yes.
We would do it.
We would do it, and then we'd have a minimal amount of lease payment that they would pay on some sort of basis, annual or quarterly or whatever.
we can provide utilities.
For like a 10-year, so it could be like $150 a month or something.
Yeah. And I think the fire department wanted to inflate that building. They talked about that. We've also talked about doing it because it's still our building and we know it needs to be done. It's part of the cost in that building. So, you think we should do it?
Well, we're gonna do maintenance.
Yeah. It's our bill.
Okay.
But then just be clear that we're making the building usable, we're providing utilities.
And we can store them.
We provide utilities as well.
Yep.
Okay.
Same thing, we've been doing it for free for several years. For instance, yeah, we've had it. To me, it's a benefit to the citizens to have it there. It's a huge benefit, and they need to stay there, so.
Question on that, part of our discussion said that electrical had some problems in it, is that correct?
Yes, the fire marshal's not happy with the building. Let's just.
Well, is that a concern?
Yeah, so we
Repairs for that
we don't
are actually
wanna
part of the budgeted amount.
Yeah,
We don't want to put $400,000 pressure in there.
Yeah, no. So that's already in this year's budget. In fact, we've already contracted with an electrician to fix it, so. Yes, you can up to it. I don't know why, it's walking down the road.
But that's being,
John, open the door.
but that's being fixed.
Yeah, that'll be in
In
there.
the lease, you should just say that the building will be up to code, period.
No.
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 Like the code to be, whatever you're gonna
You
do.
mean, I
Put
mean.
it in there, so they know what they're getting.
Actually, you know, what I said is, people don't think it's a beautiful building, but it's structurally sound, we own it,
Use it.
let's fix it. You can always paint it and make it look pretty. Okay, anything else, council? You gonna go for this and quit getting down in the weeds at some point when we get done? All right, then someone like to make a motion to adjourn, and we'll get this contract done, get it to, okay?
I have one more question before we do that. You're saying that a member of Star Valley Ranch cannot be on the Mid-Valley Fire District Board?
You have to live within the fire, you have to live within the fire district boundaries to be on the board.
Okay.
I understand,
So our boundary goes from Edna to the nearest,
Yes.
from Idaho or Forest, whichever gets first, to Forest. And then the town boundaries exempt you out of the district.
but when Kevin came to talk to us a month ago, the Dockstetter proposal to the legislature was probably slim at that. He was gonna ask them, but the consensus was that, the legislature may say, well, there's rules and regulations to follow those rules, put it on the ballot. What is the incentive of Mid-Valley to get that on the budget? On the budget,
On the ballot. It's more of an incentive for the town, and I think if the town wants to take that up.
Yeah, and I'm not, when I say you guys, I'm not specifically saying Star Valley Ranch, the town of Thane, whoever. I mean, if you wanna get people in the county, I can tell you right now, when we done it, for us to go door to door, because we show up when our fires like this, then the little kids come out and ask about fire trucks, then the parents wanna know how the fire's going, and then they wanna know about, why the signature. So what should be a 5-minute conversation turns into an hour. So you might get 4 done in 4 hours.
Well,
it is a very long process. If you don't have a notary with you, or if somebody owns a vacant lot and lives in California, you've got to send it to them, have them sign it. If it's in a trust, then they got to have it notarized and send it back. And then we got to have it notarized, everything. So it's not just signing.
well, I was really involved in the last signature gathering. We never went door to door.
And the town voted.
We still didn't
in
get it
favor. The town voted. The town, if it would have been just the town, we voted, we had the majority of people wanted to have the deal.
And
It was the county that screwed us up.
And the dollar value.
We had the dollar.
No, we had to have number of people, it wasn't by town.
You have to have
Number of
25
people and dollar amount.
You have to have
The
25.
town had both of them.
No, you missed, you got your population, you missed the assess. The
Yeah,
county
we
got
get
the population, we missed the assess. We were completely opposite of each other. Neither one of us hit both goals.
Yeah.
And we were way off. It wasn't like it was, we were way off.
I just
So it's
heard,
no one's fault, really, I mean.
well, another thing is though, is that
And our
we're all in favor of it.
Yeah.
And our understanding at the time,
Mhm.
there again, we get something different from the county every time we turn around. Or my understanding at the time, and maybe that was just me being stupid, but my understanding at the time said that once they forced it on the ballot from the county, and we became a district, then I thought all it took was the towns to get it on the ballot to
Just say
join.
we wanted to do it.
And then we find out, no, we still have to go back and get the county on that ballot, all that petition to that. And like Toby said, we
We were in that same impression you were on the first iteration.
Yeah, we got 6 months,
That's
we
what
got
we
6
thought.
months to get those signatures. If you don't have all the signatures within 6 months, you start all
And I think quite,
over. The
some
ones
of ours
we've
were
got
disqualified.
are junk.
Mayor, can I
It was
make
tough.
just a statement, please? We're talking about today. I'm more concerned about this town and its survival in the long term. If we're paying the full 3 mills right now, we want to be part of the Mid-Valley Fire District. Mid-Valley Fire District has no incentive today. If we're paying the full amount and you're giving us a full service, why do you want to spend all that time to get us part of it? Representation on that board is extremely important for this town, to have a say in where they go, what they do. The largest, the biggest, and everything else, and yet we're not having any say in it. So it's important to our town to be part of it. But we're gonna set up a situation that nobody cares but us. And it takes more than just us caring. It's gotta be, everybody's gotta care. So I don't mean to change the whole thought process, but rather than doing, the only thing we got is money. Seriously, doing sanctions. And if I pay you 2 mills today, and say, if we were part of it, we would pay 3 mills, there might be more of an incentive to get us involved, because we could get more stuff sooner if we were paying more. And then what I'm doing is I'm saying, we're gonna, just the opposite, we're gonna cut you. But cut it in the sense that there's an incentive for the future for this town to be part of that organization.
It's non-negotiable, it won't work.
I know, it's not negotiable. We're not negotiable for the rest of our lives.
Okay, but it's not gonna work, because
citizens aren't gonna vote for an increase in taxes.
There is no increase in taxes. You're gonna pay 8 mills to the town of Star Valley, no matter what you do.
You mean to the county?
You're gonna pay, the county's gonna give us 8 mills.
Yeah.
No matter what the charge is. They're only gonna charge you 8 mills for the town. Of that 8 mills, 3, up to 3, may be diverted to and then the town is spot. So the amount of money, total amount of money you pay, with or without a fire department, with or without a fire district, is exactly the same amount. It will go up and down, obviously, because of the assessment. But that 8 mills that is correct. I've got that now, I know it.
But also one thing that I think, and yes, I admit that may change with different board members on the district.
Sure.
But with the board members that are on the district right now, it's not our goal to micromanage the fire department.
Sure.
The town of Thane did not micromanage the fire department. Mid-Valley Fire District is not micromanaging the fire department. It's voted on, decisions are voted upon in the fire department. I can't stress that enough. They're voted on in the fire department. You have 4 members, which if you look around, you're probably more represented than a lot of places.
Sure.
Okay, now let's take Bedford area, for instance. There's, you, me, and Kurt. Okay, so the Bedford area's got 3. Now, yeah, population-wise, I understand that.
But we're not talking about today, because you and I are still talking. It's 2 years, 10 years, 20 years from now, when people quit talking to each other. And we've got to make sure not me, you have to make sure that you protect the town's interest. And make sure that we don't get ourselves into a block. You say you got to do it today, you do have to do something today. But by the same token, don't do something today that jeopardizes the rest of the town's life. Okay, that's all I'm saying.
But the issue, and to add with that, though, I don't care if you do 1 mil, 2 mil, or 3 mil. Our guys are not giving up that time. You can cut the mill and negotiate that. I don't care. We already give up hours and hours and hours.
Sure.
You want to have a representative go into the county, go for it. Get 10, 12, 100 guys. I don't care. Do it.
Yeah.
But the fire department itself, we do not have the time.
I don't think that the volunteer firefighters themselves should be the ones out getting the votes or doing the work. It should be property owners should be responsible for if they want to push it. They should be getting the votes, not you guys, because you're busy with this. So.
Well, we missed the vote when we didn't hit the target the first time. There's no question about that, okay? But now you talk about incentive, let's say for the district, it's already part of the district. What's their incentive to bring you guys into it at that point? There's none.
Yeah.
There's none. And you say, don't lock yourself into anything, sit for down the road. Well, there's clauses in this contract that you can terminate within 90 days. The contract's over within 10 years, and there's clause in there that you can, if you don't like what's happening, you can terminate within 90 days. You, just like the town of Thane terminated their contract with you, you can terminate the contract with the Mid-Valley Fire District. It's just that simple.
So I'd vote for the 180 days either way, because if you terminate us, we need 6 months to find an alternative. If we terminate with you, you gotta find 6 months to find some money. You know, because that's a pretty.
We just have to cut our budget.
Yeah.
We got you.
Yeah. Well, maybe if you're estimating.
We've got the equipment. The only thing that's not paid for is the new truck coming.
Yeah.
Everything's paid.
Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn? I mean,
I think
Alan's got it. Second? Moved and seconded, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye.